Hi, everybody. My name is Yakian Lam, and I am a staff scientist with NRDC.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Imperiali. I'm a senior attorney on the environmental justice team at the Natural Resources Defense Council, or NRDC.
I mean, NRDC is a really large organization, so I'm going to speak a little bit more from the perspective of my role, and I guess a little bit for Sarah too, as we work most closely with the environmental justice team. And I think sort of what the vision that I have in my mind is that, well, we know that we live in this world where the distribution of environmental threats to health are not equal, is not equal. It's not equally distributed. And there are definitely communities that live with an overburden of these cumulative environmental threats. So they're not just facing, sources of pollution from just one factory. It's not just one type of pollutant, but really it's this multiple, concurring environmental threats that they're living with at the same time as these underlying conditions that make their health more susceptible to those very threats, right? So we're talking about things like low income status, maybe lack of health care, living in food deserts and things like that. And so I think the vision of the world that I think we're kind of working towards is one where this is not the case, where there is not this inequality, there's not this unequal distribution, there are not these pockets, these hot spots of threats. And I think for us, in addition to trying to work towards that world, it's not just about where we want to go, it's also how we want to get there. And our vision of environmental justice is not just about, oh, we come in as a big green organization and then we say what needs to be done and dictate, strategies and everything else. It's not like that at all. It's that for us, environmental justice also means that the way that you get to that vision is one that is inclusive, that lets people who are most impacted speak for themselves, drive the priorities, drive the strategies, and tell us as we're sitting here with this technical expertise, legal expertise, what have you, how we can most support their needs and priorities.
For me, participating in the Coming Clean Network and working with Coming Clean and EJHA has really meant dedicated spaces to build and grow relationships with partners, both existing and new partners. And these relationship building spaces, especially in moments kind of between policy or litigation inflection points, have helped ensure that we're kind of always moving together and working together for the long term and in a principled way, and are kind of ready to take these opportunities when they emerge in the policy space or otherwise, to really step forward together as a coalition and as partners who have done the hard work of relationship building before we get to that place. NRDC's involvement definitely predates my time with the organization. We have some colleagues who are still with NRDC who have long plugged into this space and provided their kind of skill set to the network. In 2017, I believe, is when NRDC executed our memorandum of agreement with EJHA, which really, I think, took the relationship to a new level. It kind of moved us beyond the place of holding one-on-one individualized relationships and connections to the network and really prioritizing moving that into an institutional relationship where the whole of NRDC was now making clear its commitment to, working in a principled way with transparency and accountability, and really demonstrating that, we want to hold this relationship and grow this relationship over the long term and ensure that we're doing all types of things equitably, sharing credit, building projects, providing resources, financial or otherwise. So that was a really big shift in the relationship in my time with NRDC.
I am really struck by how Coming Clean, through the networks that it has, that we've been able to work, NRDC has been able to work very closely with the Environmental Justice Health Alliance, EJHA, on actually what we've been doing, coming on the other side, is working with them to bring more of the community voice, the community knowledge, and uplifting that in these like very traditional, quote unquote, technical scientific spaces. So for example, the American Public Health Association every year has this annual meeting, like a big conference, lots of experts, lots of scientists and, professors, academics, researchers, all sorts. But what has been kind of absent from those spaces is, the very populations and the leaders from the communities that are studied upon, that are studied by those, quote unquote experts, right? And so what we did in it's been a number of years, I think, that folks from EJHA have been kind of saying to the American Public Health Association and these other research spaces, hey, where's the community? Where's the public in public health? But very concretely in 2019, we were able to work with EJHA to organize a day-long environmental justice town hall the day before the APHA annual meeting started. And we had that, be this big event. We had actually, I think, over about like 60 some attendees, and the majority of them were community members, people who consider themselves like working really on the front lines on environmental justice. And the theme of that day-long town hall was cumulative impacts. And we really were able to get this dialogue and conversation going and talk about how, it's not just the analysis that's important, it's how does the analysis lead to actual change, to actual policy.
I had the pleasure of seeing Elga Garza, who runs the Agricultura Network out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, approach the Dollar General CEO and say, you should come to Albuquerque. You should come see what we have going on there and our capacity to be able to support getting fresh, locally grown food into discount retail chains in that part of the world. So watching Elga and the campaign in that moment, like single-handedly make that meeting happen, was really a pleasure to be around for. My primary goal in doing this work, and I think an essential opportunity moving forward, is ensuring that the environmental movement more broadly looks like the world around us, which means centering the experiences and perspectives and expertise of frontline communities, of low-income communities of color in all of the work that we do.
We get consulted as NRDC, by like staffers from legislators who are trying to create a bill on things like, air quality and public health, or on environmental justice mapping and so forth. And I think our role is to, also be very conscious of not getting ahead of where EJ and frontline groups are on that, so even if we think that something, hey, this might look good, in theory, we think that maybe it sounds good, like we really need to make sure we're like vetting, kind of gut checking and validating our inklings with the communities that these policies are supposed to benefit.
I'll just say that I'm really proud of all of our shared projects. They're some of my most favorite things to work on. The Local Food Solutions Project, all of our kind of shared advocacy in the hazardous facility space, including a couple pieces of major litigation, collaborating with the Campaign for Healthier Solutions more broadly on the dollar store toxics work. I think broadly, I would hope that, others in the network know that NRDC is here and that we are interested in providing support.
I think community-based science is going to be a much bigger part of our work than it has been. So to that extent, I would really like to reiterate this kind of like open door that we have. And hopefully, yeah, if we do this, through Come and Clean or wherever else, like that's definitely something we can work on.
I'm imagining a world where our movement is equitably resourced, where we have just climate, agriculture, and chemical policies that we are all celebrating. And I really hope, kind of looking back at the whole of our time together and our work in the network, that people say NRDC has been a good partner. That's the ultimate goal that I have, kind of stepping into new relationships and new spaces, is leveraging whatever we have to offer, whether that is legal support, technical support, grant making, consultants, kind of whatever we can bring to the table to really center and lift up the priorities of our partners, particularly our environmental justice partners.